The 2019 season of the Overwatch League came to a close last night as the San Francisco Shock defeated the Vancouver Titans in the Philadelphia Grand Final to be crowned our second champion after the London Spitfire success last season. For my video today, I want to briefly go over the match itself, discussing what happened, before wrapping up with a few thoughts about the season as a whole, and a quick word on what I'll be hoping to cover on the channel in regards to the competitive Overwatch scene moving forward. As the stream went live, you could sense the excitement and anticipation building up in a sold-out Wells Fargo Centre as the match started to approach. Following the conclusion of the double elimination bracket, it was widely accepted that the best two teams had made it through to the grand finals, with our number 1 seed Vancouver and number 3 seed San Francisco. But given how dominantly they ploughed through the losers bracket without dropping even a single map, the general sense was that the Shock were coming into this series as favourites. Of course, we'd all have to wait till this match began before we'd know for sure, but with it being the Titans' pick on control, this opening map would be crucial for determining how the series would pan out. Even though they progressed to the grand finals from the winners bracket, it hadn't exactly been a smooth road for Vancouver, who at times had been seriously tested in their contests against the Dynasty, Gladiators and Excelsior. In all three of these scenarios, a big reason for their eventual success came from their ability to take the opening control map behind the play of their starman Haxel, who at times had hard carried his side in the playoffs through dominant displays on Doomfist. It was finally time to get going, and we discovered that the Titans had chosen Lijiang Tower as the opening control map of the series. Predictably, both teams fielded their normal postseason rosters and came out on the regular compositions involving an Orisa and Sigma pair alongside a Doomfist and Reaper. However, at support, whilst Shock stuck to a familiar pairing of Lucio and Moira, Vancouver surprised us all by picking Brigitte instead of Moira. As described on commentary, it appeared that this pick was made to help counter the effectiveness of Sinatra on Doomfist and help deal with him. We quickly saw how much this backfired, with a significant lack of healing holding them back in the opening teamfights, allowing San Francisco to gain a lot of early momentum and point percentage. They did later switch back onto Moira, but by that point the damage had already been done, allowing the Shock to convincingly take home the opening round. Realising this strategy wasn't going to work, Vancouver started the next round on Moira, mirroring San Francisco's composition, and this time it allowed them to get the better of the opening point contest, with Haxel finding his groove on Doomfist. With a major highlight coming in the following engagement, when he picked up a 4K with a Meteor Strike following a really effective Hulk combo from Tizzy on Orisa. This round was significantly more competitive than the first, with the point proceeding to flip between the sides, with both being able to accrue almost 99%. But while Xiaomin Su was able to have a really strong and impactful performance on the Reaper, the rest of the Titans crumbled when it came to the crucial final teamfight, with the two top performers from the Shock and Sinatra and Choi Hyomin picking up the final pieces to claim the second round and thus the opening map in the grand final, a foreshadowing feat given this was supposed to be Vancouver's strongest map type. It was still early days though, and with map pick once again, the Titans decided that the hybrid map would now be Eichenwalde. Perhaps an odd decision, as they defeated San Francisco 4 times previously on another available map option that was King's Row. To add further questions and doubt into this selection, the Shock subbed in Rascal and Architect for the DPS positions and took the initiative early, with a May Bastion comp that Vancouver didn't look at all ready for or prepared for, as Point A was capped quickly. This early momentum and dominance continued throughout the rest of the map, as the Titans just couldn't find a way to dislodge the setup Bastion, especially with Choi Hyomin brilliantly using his accretions to knock down and stun any targets that tried to challenge this setup, like Xiaomin Su's Reaper, which were then subsequently frozen. Jano was struggling to have anywhere near the same impact on the Sigma, as this amazing push continued through to the final section, where Architect wrapped up the map completion with just under 3 minutes in the time bank, as he used his tank configuration to set up the Bastion on top of a chandelier to rain down terror from above. At this stage, the situation looked very scary for Vancouver, who were at risk of being destroyed without much of a fight, unless they could bring together a strong performance in their own attack. Opting to run a May Reaper instead of a Doom Reaper, as Haxel's effectiveness on the Doomfist himself was being very well managed, the Titans finally started to show their expected quality, as they narrowly managed to take the first point in an initial fight that they almost lost following an impactful barrage from Rascal, followed up by some nice picks from Choi. However, once they got on the payload and it started to roll, Vancouver really started to find their feet, with the side using their ultimates in a coordinated fashion to break down the Bastion-made defensive setup that was in front of them. Just like the Shock, they managed to press their advantage all the way through to the end of the map, with a nano Death Blossom between Twilight and Xiaomin Su, sealing the map completion, which impressively ended up only being 2 seconds slower in comparison to San Francisco's own attack. Despite this great response though, the Titans' second attack struggled to get going, so they just couldn't find a way to break through the Bastion Farah defense of the Shock, but this time was much more robust. With time expiring, Vancouver's attack got more fractured and split apart, which allowed San Francisco to clean them up in overtime and hold the first point, having only given up 50% of it. To their credit, the Titans put up a very valiant defence of their own, and heading into the last minute of Shock's time bank, it looked as if they'd had the upper hand in terms of their ults. It's in trying to confirm the win, they pushed in too deep and aggressively, with a nano Death Blossom which was nullified, and then countered by a graphitic flux from Choi to turn the fight around and wipe out Vancouver's defence to give San Francisco the map, and thus a 2-0 lead in the series. At this midway point, I'd just like to take a moment to appreciate the crowd and production of the grand finals as a whole. The crowd added a great dimension themselves to the over 250,000 people watching on the stream, and personally I really enjoyed the performance from Zed, which was a million times better than our other DJ last year. even if his memes will be missed. Back to the match though, and with back-to-back losses, the Titans kept control of the map choice, so for assault, they selected Anubis. Unfortunately, it followed an almost exact pattern to the map prior, with both sides completing the map on their first rounds of attack, but with San Francisco feeling more in control. Too often for Vancouver, it felt like they just had to get the opening pick, or use their ultimates to ever firmly win their teamfights, with most of their success coming through plays from Xiaominsu or Twilight. But Shock, meanwhile, whilst not always perfect in their execution, just seemed more adept at clutching out situations presented before them, with Sinatra and Choi Hyobin continuing to win their crucial matchups on the Doomfist and Sigma respectively against Haxor and Janu, with a much higher impact coming from their abilities. With less time in their time bank, Vancouver had to go first on their second attack and battled their way through to the second point before being halted as time expired. But in trying to hold on for a desperately needed map win, they once again started to fall apart, largely due to a super quick coalescence from Viola, who himself had a really strong day, as he charged his Moira ultimate significantly quicker than Twilight, which unlocked the first point, before once again they managed to roll on through to capture the third they needed on point B, to win the map and take themselves to match point at 3-0 in the series. Just as had been predicted by Monty and others, with Vancouver failing to come out on top in the opening map on Control, they were simply being outclassed across almost all the positions, with probably only Xiaominsu, Twilight and Slime really coming close to their opposite numbers in terms of performance, with the Titans' key man Haxor having a rough day. At this point, the results seemed to be heading only one way, and looks inevitably to be heading towards San Francisco, with the fourth map selected being Gibraltar. Again, just like the last three maps especially, Vancouver made some nice plays, but they just couldn't seem to handle the Bastion May setup being played by Rascal and Architect, who had again been subbed back in after Eichenwalde. After overcoming a few hurdles in the first section of the map, the Shock were able to complete the map with just under 2 minutes in the time bank, and place a ton of pressure onto their counterparts, who in all fairness just couldn't find any sustained success. At first it seemed like San Francisco would wrap up the series dominantly at the first section, but a great sleep dart onto Choi by Twilight, who put in a really gutsy display on the Ana, finally won them the teamfight they needed to keep the payload moving. They eventually were able to get to just before the end as time was about to expire, giving us one final crucial teamfight. As we saw all series, unlike in their past meetings, it was the Shock on this occasion who would just find a way to come out on top and get the kills they needed, with Architect on Bastion hammering home the victory with some disgusting damage for a Baptiste window as San Francisco wiped their opponents to win the map and thus the series 4-0, thereby becoming our second Overwatch League Champions. At the end of it all, I think you'd have to say that the best team and the right team have been crowned Overwatch League Champions at the end of this season. Whilst everyone performed really well, Choi Hyobin was more than deserving of his finals MVP that he received for his brilliant display on the Sigma. The Shock have been at the top of their game throughout every stage and every meta, and particularly by showing determination to bounce back from a tough earlier playoff loss, to go on and not drop a single map thereafter on their run through to the grand final. Not only the entire San Francisco squad, but also their coaching staff led by Krusty should be given an immense amount of praise. Looking over to the other side, we of course should still congratulate the Vancouver Titans for an amazing season, despite coming up short of it in the end. Perhaps you could say they didn't look as comfortable within this meta than the Shock, but as we saw, the same could be said of everyone else in the playoffs. Still, they were incredible throughout the season, really living up to their very high pre-season expectations, and have firmly established themselves as one of the best teams in the league, looking ahead to the 2020 season. Of course, with a 4-0 Shock victory, my streak of awful playoff predictions continued, as I'm pretty sure I ended up with 8 incorrect pricks in a row, or something like that, with only 2 correct throughout the entire playoffs, if we exclude the play-ins that is. With such an astonishing run, am I just horribly cursed? Or perhaps were there some other not so subtle underlying factors at play? But I'll let you all decide that for yourselves. Still, it feels weird to say that we're at the end of the Overwatch League season, but I'd like to say a massive thank you to everyone for the support they've given me since we started this channel back in February. I'm happy to say that my uni schedule and admin is starting to settle down, so you can expect a little more regularity from me and the channel as we look now ahead towards the Gauntlet in just a week's time, and then the Overwatch World Cup at the beginning of November, both of which I'll be looking to make videos on. But with that, we've reached the end of this Grand Finals review, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Of course, if you don't want to miss out on upcoming Tier 2 and international content I have planned, then please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for this continuing competitive Overwatch coverage and content. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.